So discuss some of the important points from our textbook, like we have here, by actually destroying the invading bacteria or virus by phagocytosis, most of our WBC cells act like this process. And also there are about 7,000 white blood cells per microliter of blood in comparison with 5 million red blood cells. We know already there are 5 million blood cells, but we have only 7,000 white blood cells. And among them, the polymorphonuclear neutrophils are 62%. Neutrophils are the highest. Eosinophils of 2.3% and basophils of 0.4%. Monocytes 5.3% and lymphocytes of 30%. That's it. So the number of platelets also once we'll see. Later we'll study platelets in detail, which are only the cell fragments in each microliter of blood is normally about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 lakhs. Yeah, 3 lakhs. And lymphocytes and plasma cells are mainly produced in various lymphogenous tissues like lymph glands, spleen, not only from bone marrow but also from this like lymph glands, spleen, thymus, tonsils, and also from various pockets of lymphoid tissue elsewhere in body, such as in bone marrow, and also in so-called Peyer's patches, right, in Peyer's patches underneath the epithelium in the gut wall. And once we also need to see some important tables and diagrams here. So here you can see the genesis of white blood cells, myelocytes and lymphocytes, how they are formed. And here we'll see the percentage functions of white blood cells. So myeloid cells, mainly neutrophils, are 50 to 70%. Endothelial adhesion, chemotaxis, phagocytosis, antibacterial compounds in granules. Eosinophil 1 to 4, interaction with T lymphocytes in allergy, helminthial larvicides. Basophils less than 0.5, inflammation, initiation of tissue repair after injury. And the lymphoid cells T and B, T lymphocytes 20 to 40, cellular immunity, helper memory and cytotoxic T cells, B lymphocytes, humoral immunity, plasma cells secreting the immunoglobulins, and monocytes 2 to 8, immunoregulatory, antigen presenting cells, phagocytic and chemotaxis. So some of the important points. And physiological and pathological variations in WBCs, physiologically by exercise, digestive, pregnancy, stress, like to linked to catecholamides, and pathological, bacterial, viral, fungal, allergy, helminthic infestations or parasitic infestations. So actually the macrophage to come out from the circulation, it represents about 6 days of the supply, and the life of granulocytes after being released from the bone marrow is normally up to 4 to 8 hours circulating in the blood, and another 4 to 5 days in the tissues where they are needed. And also in the times of serious tissue infection, this total lifespan is often shortened to only few hours because the granulocytes proceed even more rapidly to the infected area and perform their functions, and in the process are themselves destroyed. So in this process they are only destroyed in turn. So the monocytes also have a short transit time, like about 10 to 20 hours in the blood before wandering to the capillary membranes into the tissue, and after a few hours they pass out of the blood back into tissue by diapedesis. That is about WBC. WBC again it moves backward from blood into tissues by diapedesis process, and then again they re-enter the lymph and return to the blood again and again. Thus there is continuous circulation of lymphocytes throughout the body. So the platelets in the blood are replaced about, so the monocytes also have a short transit time, like about 10 to 20 hours in the blood before wandering to the capillary membranes into the tissue, and after a few hours they pass out blood into tissues by diapedesis, and they re-enter the lymph and return to the blood again and again. So this continuous cycle continues, and the platelets in the blood are replaced about once every 10 days. In other words, like about 30,000 platelets are formed each day for each microliter of blood. And mainly the neutrophils and macrophages attack and destroy the bacteria, mainly neutrophils and macrophages. So the neutrophils are the mature cells that can attack and destroy bacteria even in the circulatory blood, and sometimes this tissue monocytes only swell to become 5-fold greater, like 60 to 80 millimeter. These are nothing but called as macrophages. And white blood cells enter the tissue spaces by diapedesis. That is mainly neutrophils and monocytes can squeeze through the interendothelial gaps and allow the process of diapedesis. And white blood cells move through the tissue spaces by amoeboid movement. That is mainly neutrophils and macrophages move through tissues by amoeboid movement, and their velocities are like 40 mm per minute, distance as great as their own length in each minute. And white blood cells are attacked to inflamed tissue areas by chemotaxis. That is, neutrophils and macrophages move towards the source of chemical, that is nothing but the chemotaxis movement. Mainly it is done by some of the bacteria or viral toxin or degenerative products of inflamed tissue and several reaction products of complement complex. So all this attack them and also activated and inflamed tissues. Several reaction products caused by plasma clotting in inflamed area. So all this can cause chemotaxis towards the inflamed area. And chemotaxis is effective up to 100 μm away from the inflamed tissue. So phagocytosis, it's an important function of neutrophils and macrophages. And if the surface is rough, there is higher amount of phagocytosis. And if the most of the dead tissues are present and foreign particles have no protective coat, then also here there is higher amount of phagocytosis going on. And antibody molecules also combines with the C3 product of complement cascade, which is an additional part of immune system. So here the C3 molecule in turn attaches to receptors on phagocyte membrane and initiate the process of phagocytosis. So this process by which a pathogen is selected for phagocytosis, this is mainly called as opsonization, which is very important point. And next you can see phagocytosis is also done by neutrophils. Mainly on approaching a particle to phagocyte, the neutrophil first attaches to itself to a particle and then projects the pseudopodia in all directions around the particle. So the pseudopodia meet one another on the opposite side and fuse. So this action creates an enclosed chamber that contains a phagocytosed particle, and then the chamber invaginates to inside of cytoplasmic cavity and breaks away from the outer cell membrane to form a free floating phagocytic vesicle. This is also called as phagosome inside the cytoplasm. And a single neutrophil can usually phagocyte about 3 to 20 bacteria before the neutrophil becomes inactivated and dies. And we'll see phagocytosis by macrophages, much more this by macrophages, the phagocytosis is more powerful than neutrophils because it has phagocyting capacity of about like 100 bacteria and engulf much larger particles, even whole red blood cell or occasionally malarial parasites, whereas neutrophils are not capable to phagocyte, which are larger than bacteria. And also after digesting the particles, the macrophage can extrude the residual cell products and often survive and function for many more months. And next, once phagocytes, most particles are digested by intracellular enzymes, right? So the lysosomes of the macrophages, but not the neutrophils, also contain large amount of lipases. So mainly lipases are present mainly in our macrophages and which can digest the thick lipid membrane processed by some bacteria such as tuberculosis bacillus. And next coming to neutrophils and macrophages, which can kill the bacteria. Much of the killing effect results from the powerful oxidizing agents formed by enzymes in the membrane of phagosome or by special organelle called peroxisome. So these oxidizing agents include large quantities of superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxyl ions. So all of them are lethal to most of the bacteria even in small quantities. So also one of the lysosomal enzymes like myeloperoxidase catalyze the reaction between hydrogen peroxide and chloride ions to form the hypochlorite, which is exceedingly bactericidal. So this is the process by which the bacteria is killed. So notably the tuberculosis bacillus have coats that are resistant to lysosomal digestion and also secrete substances that partially resist the killing effects of neutrophils and macrophages. So these bacteria are mainly responsible for many of the chronic diseases. An example is the tuberculosis. So it's a very dangerous disease. So you have, thus the body has widespread monocyte macrophage system virtually in all tissues. So the total combination of monocytes, mobile macrophages, fixed tissue macrophages and few specialized endothelial cells in the bone marrow, spleen, lymph node, this all together called as reticuloendothelial system. And however, almost all these cells originate from the monocytic stem cell. Therefore, the reticuloendothelial system is also known as monocyte macrophage system. But reticuloendothelium is much better known in a medical literature when compared with our monocyte macrophage system. So it should be remembered as a generalized phagocytic system located in all tissues, mainly especially in the tissue areas where large quantity of particles, toxins and other unwanted substances need to be destroyed. And tissue macrophages in skin and subcutaneous tissue are called histiocytes. So wherever the skin is broken, they have a more chance, for the infectious agent. So when infection begins in subcutaneous tissue and local inflammation ensues and local tissue macrophages divide in the situation and form the still more macrophages. So they perform the usual functions of attacking and destroying the infectious agents. In order to see the macrophages in lymph nodes. So macrophages in lymph nodes, the foreign particles are trapped in these nodes in a meshwork of sinuses and it is lined by tissue macrophages. So here they engulf them and destroy them. So large number of macrophages line the lymph sinuses, and if any particles enter the sinus by the way the lymph, the macrophages phagocyte them and prevent the general dissemination throughout the body. So alveolar macrophages, they are present in lung. So if a particle is not digested, the macrophages often form a giant cell capsule around the particle. until such time, if ever, it can be slowly dissolved. So such capsules are frequently formed around tuberculous bacilli, silica dust particles, and even on carbon particles, so that they'll not allow its further replication. So next, macrophage in Kupffer cells in our liver, through the gastrointestinal mucosa into portal blood. Before this blood enters the general circulation, it passes through the liver sinusoids, which are mainly are macrophages called as Kupffer cells. So Kupffer cells have demonstrated the phagocytosis of a single bacteria in less than 100 of a second. So these Kupffer cells are really very very active cells. And macrophages of spleen and bone marrow, mainly macrophages become entrapped by reticular meshwork of two organs where foreign particles come in contact with these macrophages, and then phagocytose mainly in our spleen and bone marrow. And they pass, first you can see these arteries, they pass by our squeezes through the trabecular meshwork, they pass into red pulp, next into venous sinuses, you can see the venous sinuses, and from the venous sinuses eventually return to the circulation through the endothelial walls of venous sinuses. So finally they reach the circulation from the venous sinuses, and the trabeculae of red pulp and venous sinuses are lined with vast number of macrophages, here you can see. And this peculiar passage of blood through the cords of red pulp provides exceptional means of phagocytosing unwanted debris in the blood, including especially old and abnormal red blood cells. And eosinophils, they take only 2%. They are also called as weak phagocytes and exhibit weak and they also exhibit the chemotaxis, and mainly involved high in parasitic infections, and they attach themselves to parasite in a special surface molecule and release substances to kill them. And widespread infections like in schistosomiasis, and also we have this in trichinosis. So all these are parasitic infections. So how it works, it mainly by releasing the hydrolytic enzyme from granules, which are modified lysosomes, and probably by also releasing high reactive forms of oxygen that are especially lethal to parasites, and also by releasing from the granules highly larvicidal polypeptide called as major basic protein. So also we have one more type of infection like trichinosis. Here we have the trichinella parasite, that is a pork worm after a person eats undercooked infested pork. So if someone eats this kind of pork, this is affected, and allergic reactions occur, and peribronchial tissue of lungs, people with asthma, so skin allergic reactions. So all these cases the eosinophils are very much high in our body, and this action is mainly caused partly by many mast cells, basophils, which participate in allergic reactions. And also the mast cells and basophils release an eosinophilic chemotactic factor, which causes the eosinophil to migrate towards the inflamed allergic tissue, and the eosinophil's ability to detoxify the inflammation, including substances released by the mast cells and basophils, and probably also to phagocytose and destroy the allergen antibody complexes, and preventing the excess spread of local inflammatory process. So this is like just to remember all the important points. And basophils, they are similar to large tissue mast cells located immediately outside many of the capillaries in the body, and both mast cells and basophils liberate the heparin. So we know heparin, which prevents the blood coagulation. And mast cells, basophils also release histamine, bradykinin, serotonin small amounts, and also they have some allergic reactions and immunoglobulin E type, and to become attached to the mast cells and basophils, and resulting in the attachment of antigen to the body, causing the mast cell or basophil to rupture, release large quantity of histamine, bradykinin, serotonin, heparin, pseudo-reacting substance of anaphylaxis, like mixture of three leukotrienes, number of lysosomal enzymes. So all these enzymes cause the local vascular and tissue reactions, and it's not most of the, if not most of the allergic manifestations. So these reactions, yeah. And leukopenia are nothing but very few white blood cells, so our body is now unprotected against microbes, and there is invasion of adjacent tissues by bacteria. So within 2 days, ulcers are formed in mouth, colon, and respiratory infections are formed by different bacteria, and blood may also leak out. And if not treated, death also may take place. So within a week, acute total leukemia may begin. And in X-rays, gamma rays, exposure to drugs, chemicals, benzenes, all this lead to aplasia of bone marrow. So leukopenia is mainly due to aplasia, means bone marrow is not able to produce white blood cells. So in this case only we get this. And with drugs like chloramphenicol, thiouracil, barbiturates, hypnotic. So all this also causes aplasia. Chloramphenicol is an antibiotic, thiouracil is to treat the thyrotoxicosis, and barbiturates, they are rare occasional cause leukopenia. So setting of entire infectious sequence of malady. And myeloblasts, hemocytoblasts remain under destroyed in the marrow and are capable of regenerating the bone marrow. So providing sufficient time, sometimes may also reactivate, and a patient who is treated with transfusions, antibiotics, and other drugs to the ward of infection. So usually develops enough new bone marrow within weeks or months for the blood cell concentration to return to the normal. Sometimes it may also become normal if treated well with all antibiotics and proper treatment. And next coming to leukemia. Leukemia is uncontrolled production of white blood cells. It's like due to cancerous mutation of myelogenous or lymphogenous cells, and this process causes leukemia and characterized by increased number of abnormal white blood cells in circulating blood. And two general types of leukemia is like lymphocytic leukemia caused by cancerous production, mainly in a lymph node or other lymphatic tissues, and then also in other areas of body. And another one is a myelogenous leukemia, which is also by cancerous production and in young myelogenous cells in the bone marrow, which spreads throughout the body. So the white blood cells are produced in extramedullary tissues, especially in the lymph nodes, spleen and liver. So in myelogenous leukemia, cancerous process produces partially differentiated cells, resulting in neutrophilic leukemia and eosinophilic leukemia, basophilic leukemia or monocytic leukemia. And more frequently, the leukemia cells are bizarre, undifferentiated and not identical, and usually more undifferentiated, more acute leukemia, often leading to death within a few months, and if untreated, causing death. And some of the differentiation cells may also be chronic, developing slowly over 10 to 20 years, and leukemic cells, especially very undifferentiated cells, usually non-functional, providing a normal protection against the infection. So especially very undifferentiated cells are usually non-functional for providing normal protection against infection. So even in these patients, there are high chances of attacking many infectious diseases. And effects of leukemia on body. The first effect is metastatic growth of leukemic cells in abnormal areas of body. And leukemic cells, mainly from the bone marrow, may reproduce so greatly that invade the surrounding bone, causing pain, eventually tendency for bones to fracture. So bones are also destroyed in the case of leukemia. And almost all leukemias spread to spleen, lymph nodes, liver, vascular regions, and leukemia in bone marrow or lymph nodes. And common effects are like development of infection, severe anemia, bleeding tendency, thrombocytopenia, lack of platelets. These effects results mainly from displacement of normal bone marrow and lymphoid cells by non-functional or malignant cells. So finally, an important effect of leukemia on body is excessive use of metabolic substrates by growing cancerous cells. Leukemic tissue reproduces new cells rapidly by tremendous demands are made on body reserve for foodstuffs, specific amino acids, vitamins. Consequently, energy of the patient is depleted, and excessive utilization of amino acids by leukemic cells cause rapid deterioration of normal protein tissues. So thus, while leukemic tissues grow, other tissues become depleted, and after metabolic starvation has continued long enough, this alone is sufficient to cause death. So this is like all about I just read it. Really, I don't I'm not saying that I explained it. It just read this because already the explanation video is already available. So as some of the points are not covered in that text in that explanation video, I have just read this other important points. So that's it.